Rhett's attraction to Scarlett is also fueled by physical desire. Throughout the novel, their interactions are charged with sexual tension, and Rhett makes no attempt to hide his feelings. However, his interest in Scarlett goes beyond mere physical attraction. He is fascinated by her strength and her ability to adapt and survive in a world that has been turned upside down by war. Scarlett's willingness to abandon the old values and embrace the new reality of the South resonates with Rhett's own pragmatic worldview. Despite his admiration for Scarlett's resilience, Rhett is fully aware of her flaws. He knows that she is selfish, manipulative, and obsessed with Ashley Wilkes, a man who represents the old Southern ideals that Rhett himself despises. Rhett's love for Scarlett is tinged with frustration, as he longs for her to recognize that Ashley is not the man she believes him to be and to see that Rhett is the one who truly understands and loves her. Caught between self-interest and genuine affection, one of the central tensions in Rhett's character is his internal struggle between self-interest and genuine affection. Rhett is a man who has lived his life pursuing his own interests, often at the expense of others. His cynical outlook leads him to believe that love is a weakness, and he prides himself on his ability to remain emotionally detached. However, when it comes to Scarlett, Rhett finds himself torn between his pragmatic instincts and his deep emotional attachment to her. Rhett's relationship with Scarlett is a constant push and pull between these conflicting impulses. On the one hand, he seeks to protect himself from being hurt by her indifference and her obsession with Ashley. He repeatedly warns Scarlett that he will not allow himself to be vulnerable or to love her unconditionally. At the same time, Rhett cannot help but be drawn to Scarlett and repeatedly comes to her aid, both financially and emotionally, even when it is not in his best interest. This tension is evident throughout their marriage, where Rhett's genuine love for Scarlett is often masked by his sarcastic remarks and cynical behavior. He showers her with wealth and luxury, but also keeps an emotional distance, refusing to fully open himself to her. Rhett's decision to marry Scarlett is driven by both his desire for her and his belief that they are alike in their pragmatism and resilience. Yet, as their relationship unfolds, it becomes clear that Rhett's love for Scarlett runs deeper than he is willing to admit, even to himself. Emotional vulnerability and heartbreak. Despite his efforts to remain emotionally detached, Rhett's love for Scarlett ultimately makes him vulnerable. His relationship with her is marked by moments of deep affection, but also by intense frustration and disappointment. Rhett's inability to win Scarlett's love, combined with her continued fixation on Ashley, leaves him increasingly disillusioned. The birth of their daughter, Bonnie, briefly brings them closer, as Rhett channels his love and affection into fatherhood. However, the tragedy of Bonnie's death shatters any hope of reconciliation between Rhett and Scarlett. Rhett's emotional vulnerability reaches its breaking point when he realizes that Scarlett will never love him the way he loves her. In one of the novel's most famous moments, Rhett finally decides to leave Scarlett, telling her, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." This line, while iconic for its coldness, is also a reflection of Rhett's deep emotional exhaustion. After years of trying to win Scarlett's love and facing constant rejection, Rhett chooses to protect himself by walking away, even though it is clear that he still cares for her. Conclusion: a man torn between cynicism and love. Rhett Butler's character in Gone with the Wind is defined by his pragmatism, cynicism, and complex relationship with Scarlett O'Hara. His attraction to Scarlett is rooted in admiration for her strength and resilience, but his love for her is constantly undermined by her obsession with Ashley and her inability to fully reciprocate his feelings. Rhett's internal struggle between self-interest and genuine affection makes him a tragic figure, as he is ultimately unable to reconcile his desire for emotional detachment with his deep love for Scarlett. His decision to leave her at the end of the novel is a testament to the limits of his pragmatism and the emotional toll that his love for Scarlett has taken on him. Scarlett's rise as a successful businesswoman after the war, determination, independence, and emotional emptiness in Gone with the Wind. In Gone with the Wind, Scarlett O'Hara's transformation into a successful businesswoman after the Civil War is one of the most striking aspects of her character arc, driven by her fierce determination to survive and restore her family's fortune. Scarlett defies the traditional expectations of women in the South by becoming a shrewd and ruthless entrepreneur. Her rise to wealth and power is marked by her remarkable independence and resilience. However, despite her financial success, Scarlett's journey is also one of increasing emotional emptiness. Her focus on material wealth and social status comes at the cost of her relationships, personal fulfillment, and happiness. Scarlett's determination and business savvy. Scarlett's journey as a businesswoman begins when she is forced to confront the harsh realities of life after the Civil War. Tara, her family's beloved plantation, has been devastated by the war, and Scarlett realizes that the old Southern way of life is gone forever. Faced with poverty and the threat of losing Tara, Scarlett's determination to survive takes over. She makes a vow that she will never be hungry or poor again, a promise that becomes the driving force behind her actions. Scarlett's initial foray into the business world comes when she marries Frank Kennedy, her sister's fiancé, in order to secure his wealth and save Tara. Once she gains control of Frank's lumber business, Scarlett's natural intelligence and resourcefulness allow her to thrive in the male-dominated world of commerce. She quickly learns how to manipulate business deals, secure contracts, and outsmart her competitors. Unlike other Southern women, who cling to traditional roles of domesticity, Scarlett embraces the role of a businesswoman with ruthless ambition. Scarlett's success is not just due to her determination, but also to her willingness to break societal norms. She refuses to be constrained by the expectations of Southern femininity, taking on a leadership role in her business and making decisions that would have been unthinkable for a woman of her time. Scarlett's ability to adapt to the changing world around her, combined with her pragmatism and boldness, allows her to build a thriving lumber empire and secure her financial future. Independence and the rejection of traditional roles. Scarlett's rise as a businesswoman also marks her rejection of the traditional roles of wife and mother that defined Southern women before the war. While other women mourn the loss of the antebellum South and cling to the past, Scarlett embraces the future and the opportunities it brings. She is not content to rely on men for her survival, and her independence becomes one of her defining characteristics. Scarlett's independence is both empowering and isolating. She refuses to be dependent on any man, including her husband's, and often sees relationships as tools for securing her own success. Her marriages to Frank Kennedy and later to Rhett Butler are motivated by practicality rather than love. Scarlett's ability to make decisions for herself and run her business without the support or approval of men is revolutionary for her time, but it also creates emotional distance between her and those around her. Despite her independence, Scarlett's relationships with others, particularly with her family and friends, suffer as a result of her relentless focus on business and survival. Her single-minded pursuit of wealth and security alienates her from those who care about her, and she often dismisses or exploits the people closest to her in order to achieve her goals. Emotional emptiness and unfulfilled desires. As Scarlett rises to the top of the business world and achieves financial security, it becomes clear that her success comes at a great personal cost. Despite her material wealth and independence, Scarlett is emotionally empty and unfulfilled. Throughout the novel, she remains obsessed with Ashley Wilkes, a man who represents the idealized past that she cannot let go of. Scarlett's fixation on Ashley blinds her to the love and support offered by Rhett Butler, who truly understands her and shares her pragmatic worldview. Scarlett's emotional emptiness is exacerbated by her inability to recognize or appreciate the love she has in her life. She is so consumed by her desire for material success and social status that she neglects her own emotional needs and those of the people around her. Her relationship with Rhett, which could have brought her happiness, is marred by misunderstandings and her refusal to admit her feelings for him. Scarlett's constant pursuit of external validation and wealth leaves her isolated and unable to form meaningful connections with others. Even as Scarlett becomes one of the wealthiest and most powerful women in Atlanta, her emotional void grows. The tragic deaths of her daughter Bonnie and her second husband Frank Kennedy, along with the eventual breakdown of her marriage to Rhett, serve as stark reminders that Scarlett's success has not brought her the happiness she thought it would. Her inability to understand her own emotions and her stubborn refusal to let go of her obsession with Ashley ultimately lead to her downfall. Conclusion: success without fulfillment. Scarlett O'Hara's rise as a businesswoman in Gone with the Wind is a testament to her extraordinary determination, independence, and resilience. She breaks free from the traditional roles of Southern women and builds a successful business empire through sheer will and intelligence. However, Scarlett's story also serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of placing material success above emotional fulfillment. Despite her financial achievements, Scarlett's relentless pursuit of wealth leaves her emotionally isolated and unfulfilled. Her inability to recognize the love and happiness that could have been hers ultimately leads to a life of loneliness and regret. Scarlett's rise as a successful businesswoman is a powerful narrative of survival, but it is also a reminder that true fulfillment requires more than wealth and independence. It requires emotional connection and self-awareness, both of which Scarlett fails to attain. The strained marriage between Scarlett and Rhett Butler, driven by Scarlett's obsession with Ashley and her inability to appreciate Rhett's love in Gone with the Wind. The marriage between Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind is one of the most complicated and tragic relationships in the novel. What begins as a marriage of practicality and mutual attraction slowly unravels due to Scarlett's obsession with Ashley Wilkes and her inability to recognize or appreciate Rhett's genuine love for her. The tension between Scarlett's fixation on the past and Rhett's desire for a future together creates a deep emotional rift, ultimately leading to the collapse of their relationship. A marriage based on pragmatism and attraction, Scarlett and Rhett's marriage is initially driven by a combination of practical needs and physical attraction. Scarlett, always focused on financial security, agrees to marry Rhett after the death of her second husband, Frank Kennedy, seeing Rhett's wealth as a means to rebuild her fortune and secure her family's future. Rhett, on the other hand, is genuinely in love with Scarlett, although he is well aware of her flaws. He admires her resilience, strength, and determination, qualities that mirror his own, and is drawn to her in a way that goes beyond mere physical attraction. While there is a strong mutual attraction between the two, their marriage is also rooted in a pragmatic understanding of each other's ambitions. Both Scarlett and Rhett are survivors, willing to do whatever it takes to thrive in the post-war South, and in many ways, they are well matched. Rhett's cynical worldview and willingness to break societal norms align with Scarlett's own disregard for tradition, making them a formidable pair. However, beneath this practical foundation lies an emotional chasm that neither of them fully understands at the start of their marriage. Scarlett's obsession with Ashley Wilkes. The most significant barrier to Scarlett and Rhett's happiness is Scarlett's long-standing obsession with Ashley Wilkes. From the beginning of the novel, Scarlett is fixated on Ashley, believing that he represents the ideal man and the life she could have had before the war. This obsession blinds Scarlett to the reality of who Ashley truly is, a gentle, but passive man who is ill-suited to the harsh post-war world. Despite his love for his wife, Melanie, and his inability to reciprocate Scarlett's feelings, she clings to the fantasy of Ashley, refusing to let go of her romanticized image of him. Scarlett's inability to move past her obsession with Ashley creates a deep emotional divide between her and Rhett. Rhett is fully aware of Scarlett's feelings for Ashley, and while he tries to win her love, he grows increasingly frustrated by her refusal to see him as more than a financial provider. Scarlett's fixation on Ashley prevents her from appreciating the love and affection that Rhett offers, and her emotional unavailability leaves Rhett feeling rejected and unfulfilled. Rhett's unrequited love and emotional distance. Rhett Butler's love for Scarlett is one of the most tragic elements of their relationship. Despite his cynical nature and often sarcastic demeanor, Rhett genuinely loves Scarlett and desires a real emotional connection with her. Throughout their marriage, Rhett tries to win Scarlett's affection through acts of generosity, humor, and even vulnerability. However, his attempts are continually rebuffed as Scarlett remains emotionally distant, consumed by her obsession with Ashley and her pursuit of wealth and status. As their marriage progresses, Rhett becomes increasingly disillusioned. He realizes that no matter how much he loves Scarlett or how hard he tries, he will never be able to compete with her idealized image of Ashley. Rhett's frustration grows as he watches Scarlett pine for a man who will never love her in return, while she remains blind to the love that is right in front of her. This emotional rejection leads Rhett to withdraw from Scarlett, creating a vicious cycle of distance and misunderstanding. Rhett's emotional withdrawal is compounded by his own sense of pride. While he loves Scarlett deeply, he is unwilling to fully expose his vulnerability to her, knowing that she does not share his feelings. His attempts to mask his hurt with sarcasm and indifference only widen the gap between them, leaving both Scarlett and Rhett trapped in a marriage devoid of emotional intimacy. The birth of Bonnie and temporary reconciliation. The birth of their daughter, Bonnie, briefly brings Scarlett and Rhett closer together. Rhett dotes on Bonnie, pouring all of his love and affection into her, and for a short time, their family life appears to stabilize. Scarlett, too, softens toward Rhett, as she sees the joy he takes in fatherhood. However, even this brief period of happiness is fragile and ultimately unsustainable. Scarlett's continued obsession with Ashley and Rhett's growing emotional exhaustion prevent them from fully reconciling. The tragic death of Bonnie is the final blow to their marriage. Rhett is devastated by the loss of his daughter, and his grief only deepens his emotional distance from Scarlett. In the wake of Bonnie's death, Rhett becomes even more withdrawn, turning to alcohol and emotional isolation as a way to cope with his pain. Scarlett, in turn, is unable to offer the comfort or support that Rhett needs, as she remains trapped in her own grief and lingering obsession with Ashley. The final breakdown and Rhett's departure. The culmination of Scarlett and Rhett's strained marriage comes when Rhett, realizing that Scarlett will never love him the way he desires, decides to leave her. In one of the most famous moments in literature, Rhett delivers the line, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," as he walks out of Scarlett's life. This moment marks the ultimate breakdown of their relationship, as Rhett's love for Scarlett is finally eclipsed by his need to protect himself from further emotional pain. Scarlett's realization that she does, in fact, love Rhett comes too late. After years of taking Rhett's love for granted and pursuing a fantasy with Ashley, Scarlett finally understands that Rhett was the one who truly cared for her. However, by the time Scarlett acknowledges her feelings, Rhett has already made the decision to leave, believing that their marriage is beyond repair. Scarlett's epiphany comes at the cost of losing the one man who truly understood and loved her. Conclusion: a marriage doomed by misunderstanding. The marriage between Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler is a poignant exploration of love, obsession, and emotional distance. Scarlett's inability to let go of her idealized image of Ashley prevents her from appreciating the genuine love that Rhett offers, while Rhett's growing frustration and emotional withdrawal lead to the eventual collapse of their relationship. Despite their practical compatibility and shared resilience, Scarlett and Rhett's marriage is ultimately doomed by their inability to connect on an emotional level. Their story serves as a tragic reminder that love, no matter how deep, cannot survive without mutual understanding and appreciation. Scarlett's continual refusal to acknowledge her true feelings, increasing tension in her marriage in Gone with the Wind. Scarlett O'Hara's persistent refusal to confront and accept her true emotions is one of the primary factors that drives the tension in her marriage to Rhett Butler. Scarlett's internal struggle between her obsession with Ashley Wilkes and her denial of her deepening feelings for Rhett creates a significant emotional barrier that prevents her from finding happiness. As Scarlett continues to cling to her fantasies and illusions, her inability to recognize and express her true feelings leads to a series of misunderstandings and conflicts, ultimately contributing to the collapse of her marriage. Scarlett's obsession with Ashley Wilkes. Throughout most of the novel, Scarlett is fixated on Ashley Wilkes, a man she idealizes as the embodiment of everything she has lost in the antebellum South. She believes that Ashley represents her perfect, unattainable love and continues to hold on to the idea that, if circumstances were different, they could have been together. Scarlett's obsession with Ashley blinds her to the reality of who he is, a man who is loyal to his wife, Melanie, and who lacks the practical strength and resilience needed to survive in the post-war world. Despite Ashley's clear disinterest in a romantic relationship with her, Scarlett refuses to let go of her idealized vision of him, which keeps her emotionally distant from Rhett. This obsession prevents Scarlett from seeing Rhett's love and devotion, as she remains consumed by a dream of what could have been. By not acknowledging her true emotions and letting go of Ashley, Scarlett fuels the tension in her marriage with Rhett, creating an insurmountable emotional divide. Denial of feelings for Rhett Butler. At the heart of Scarlett's inability to acknowledge her true feelings is her denial of her growing love for Rhett Butler. While Rhett is a man who understands Scarlett better than anyone else, and while they share many traits, such as their pragmatism and survival instincts, Scarlett refuses to admit that she has feelings for him. She views Rhett as a convenient partner for financial security and societal standing, but is reluctant to recognize the deeper emotional bond they could have. This denial stems in part from Scarlett's pride, as well as her stubbornness in holding on to her idealized vision of Ashley. Scarlett's refusal to admit her feelings for Rhett exacerbates the tension in their marriage. Rhett, who deeply loves Scarlett, grows increasingly frustrated with her emotional unavailability and inability to reciprocate his affection. Despite his many attempts to show his love, Scarlett remains emotionally distant, unwilling to allow herself to be vulnerable or to recognize that Rhett is the one who truly cares for her. As a result, their marriage becomes a battleground of unspoken emotions and unresolved feelings, emotional isolation and misunderstandings. Scarlett's continual refusal to acknowledge her true feelings leads to a sense of emotional isolation in her marriage. Both Scarlett and Rhett are trapped in a cycle of misunderstandings, with Rhett feeling increasingly rejected and Scarlett unable to comprehend why their relationship is deteriorating. Scarlett's focus on material success and social status further alienates Rhett, as she prioritizes wealth and power over emotional intimacy. As Scarlett becomes more successful in business, she begins to view her marriage to Rhett as a practical partnership rather than a relationship based on love. This pragmatic approach only deepens the emotional chasm between them. Rhett, who longs for Scarlett's love and recognition, eventually withdraws emotionally, leaving Scarlett to continue in her denial. Scarlett's inability to confront her feelings creates a toxic dynamic, where both parties are emotionally unfulfilled but unable to bridge the gap between them. The final realization, too late, Scarlett's refusal to acknowledge her true feelings reaches its peak when Rhett, emotionally exhausted and heartbroken by her continual rejection, decides to leave her. It is only at this moment, when Rhett announces that he no longer cares, that Scarlett finally realizes she has loved Rhett all along. Tragically, her realization comes too late. By the time Scarlett admits her feelings for Rhett, he has already given up on their relationship, believing that she will never love him the way he desires. This delayed epiphany is the culmination of Scarlett's emotional journey throughout the novel. For years, she has denied her true feelings, clinging to her obsession with Ashley and refusing to see Rhett for who he really is, the one person who truly understands and loves her. Her refusal to confront her emotions ultimately costs her the chance at a happy marriage with Rhett, leaving her alone and regretful. Conclusion: emotional denial and its consequences. Scarlett's continual refusal to acknowledge her true feelings is one of the central causes of the tension and eventual breakdown of her marriage to Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind. Her obsession with Ashley Wilkes and her denial of her love for Rhett create an emotional distance that neither she nor Rhett can overcome. This emotional denial not only isolates Scarlett from the possibility of a fulfilling relationship, but also leads to a series of misunderstandings and conflicts that tear their marriage apart. Scarlett's story serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of refusing to face one's true emotions, and the tragic cost of not recognizing love until it is too late. The death of Melanie Wilkes and how it forces Scarlett to confront her mistakes and misguided love for Ashley in Gone with the Wind. The death of Melanie Wilkes is a pivotal moment in Gone with the Wind that forces Scarlett O'Hara to face the truth about her life, her relationships, and her long-held illusions. Throughout the novel, Scarlett is consumed by her obsession with Ashley Wilkes, believing that he is the love of her life. However, Melanie's death shatters Scarlett's romanticized view of Ashley and compels her to confront the reality of her feelings, her mistakes, and the consequences of her actions. Melanie Wilkes, Scarlett's rival and moral counterpart. Throughout the novel, Melanie Wilkes is presented as Scarlett's moral opposite. While Scarlett is manipulative, self-serving, and often ruthless in her pursuit of survival and wealth, Melanie is kind, selfless, and deeply loyal to those she loves. Scarlett initially views Melanie as a weak, naive woman who stands in the way of her imagined future with Ashley. Despite Melanie's unwavering kindness and devotion to Scarlett, Scarlett remains blinded by jealousy, viewing Melanie as both a rival for Ashley's affection and a symbol of everything Scarlett believes she has lost. However, over time, Melanie becomes one of the most important people in Scarlett's life, even if Scarlett refuses to admit it. Melanie's kindness, loyalty, and quiet strength provide Scarlett with a sense of stability and support that she fails to recognize. It is only after Melanie's death that Scarlett begins to understand the depth of Melanie's influence and the true nature of her own emotions. Scarlett's misguided love for Ashley. For most of her life, Scarlett clings to the belief that Ashley Wilkes is her one true love. She idealizes Ashley as a symbol of the Old South and the life she could have had before the Civil War. This obsession with Ashley blinds Scarlett to the reality of who he is, a man who is deeply committed to his wife, Melanie, and who lacks the pragmatic resilience necessary to thrive in the harsh, post-war world. Scarlett's love for Ashley is based on an illusion, a fantasy of the past that no longer exists. Despite the passage of time and the changes in both her life and Ashley's, Scarlett refuses to let go of this fantasy. She continues to believe that if Melanie were not in the picture, she and Ashley would be together. However, Melanie's death forces Scarlett to confront the truth about her feelings. In the wake of this loss, Scarlett realizes that her obsession with Ashley was never based on genuine love, but rather on an idealized vision of a man who could never fulfill her emotional needs. The moment of realization. Melanie's death serves as a moment of profound clarity for Scarlett. As she watches Melanie slip away, Scarlett is struck by the realization that Melanie was not only her friend but also the moral center of her life. It is in this moment of grief that Scarlett finally acknowledges the depth of her admiration for Melanie's kindness, strength, and unwavering loyalty. For years, Scarlett had taken Melanie's friendship for granted, seeing her as a rival rather than a true ally. More importantly, Melanie's death forces Scarlett to confront the truth about Ashley. In her grief, Scarlett realizes that she never truly loved Ashley in the way she thought she did. She had been clinging to a fantasy of what Ashley represented, the lost world of the Old South, rather than seeing him for who he really was. Scarlett finally understands that Ashley would never have made her happy and that her obsessive pursuit of him was a mistake. Scarlett's epiphany about Rhett. With this newfound clarity, Scarlett also begins to recognize the true nature of her feelings for Rhett Butler. For years, Scarlett had been emotionally blind to Rhett's love and devotion, treating him as little more than a means to financial security. However, as she comes to terms with the illusion of her love for Ashley, Scarlett realizes that Rhett is the one who truly loves her and understands her in a way that Ashley never could. Rhett's pragmatism, strength, and deep affection for Scarlett had gone unappreciated for too long. And now, with Melanie's death, Scarlett begins to see that Rhett was the one she truly needed all along. Too little, too late. Tragically, Scarlett's epiphany comes too late. By the time she realizes her love for Rhett, he has already grown weary of her emotional neglect and rejection. Rhett's departure at the end of the novel, marked by his famous line, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," signals the tragic culmination of Scarlett's years of misguided love and emotional blindness.